I am so glad to be back here with you guys on this evening, Wednesday night on the, I don't know what today is. Today is the 8th or the 9th. Here on The Gathering, do me a favor and start sharing this. I need you to share this to all of your groups because this is going to be a great topic. And I know some of you are going to probably watch it later because you don't want to be seen on social media watching it. That's okay. We'll let you know. If you have any questions, you can always inbox us, text us, and we will help you as much as we can. A couple of announcements before we jump into this discussion and start getting started. In January, we're going to be having a prophetic masterclass. So we'll be getting all of that information to you in a few days. In addition to that, our PAT classes, the prophetic activation training courses, are going to be starting afresh and anew in February. Whole new curriculum. It's going to be powerful, and it's all going to be online, so you can access it all online. In addition to that, next Friday and Saturday, not this Friday and Saturday, but next Friday and Saturday, we are going to have our Inner Healing and Deliverance Seminar repeat. So if you have ever gone through deliverance with us, Breaking Chains Outreach Ministries, Evangel Christian Churches, Empowerment Kingdom Ministries with the pages, I want to invite you out. It's absolutely free. You just need to register. So we are going to need your information. So repeat is going to be coming up 12/8/17 and 12/18. We'll do Inner Healing on Friday and then Deliverance that Saturday morning. That way we're not here all the live long day. All right. So looking forward to hearing from you and seeing you for Deliverance on next Friday and next Saturday. I'm really excited about it. So we are going to jump in. Hopefully I'm going to start bringing some of our guests on, and then I'm going to tell you that you need to tag and share with some people who really need this kind of information. Tonight is going to be a very, very powerful and very interesting conversation, as it is a taboo topic. We're going to be talking about HIV. Last week was the first, and it was World AIDS Day. And so there were a bunch of trainings and stuff that we had to be a part of. I don't know if you guys know, but I am a social worker, and I work specifically in the HIV field right now. My background is in mental health. And so there's a lot of stuff that I had to learn in the last, 6 to 7 years that was contrary to what I thought. Because of what I learned at church. And so today we're going to kind of educate you on a couple of things, and I'm sure some of it is going to be very interesting. It's going to challenge your thinking, and that's the whole purpose of the gathering, to empower you with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And so we're going to jump right in. I am going to bring up our first guest. He is a pastor here in the city of Detroit. He is one of the youngest superintendents in the Church of God in Christ. He is one of the youngest. He might be the youngest. He is the youngest superintendent or the youngest administrative assistant in the Midwest in the Church of God in Christ. And he is a pastor in the Northwestern Harvest jurisdiction. Amen. God bless. It's Ricky. Superintendent. That you niggas, you like that?
Yeah, that was good. Do I need to introduce myself now, or we're gonna wait till everybody here? Yes. Okay, what's going on, everybody? So I guess some of the people who watch the gathering know who I am. So most times when I'm on here, I am Pastor Dart, but I think today I'm coming in a different form. So my name is Darthanian YB Nichols, and for the last about 14 years, something like that. I work for an organization called Community Health Awareness Group, where we are an organization that deals with mental health, substance abuse issues, and people who are living and surviving with HIV. I have the pleasure and the opportunity of being the Ryan White Medical Case Management Supervisor, as well as the gym supervisor. And my title is really Special Service Supervisor, because I also oversee some of our special groups. One of those groups being a group that is for newly diagnosed young people. It is a group that we meet for 6 weeks in a row, twice a week, in an undisclosed location, in a secret location. and I take young people who are newly diagnosed
I think he froze.
of HIV 101. So that's what I do for a living. So most people don't hear me talk about that often because I kind of keep it to myself. But seeing that we are dealing with HIV myths and truths, so you're going to meet Dart, the social worker. Oh, I am a social worker as well. So that's who I am tonight. So I'm excited about this conversation, and I'm all the way in Nassau, Bahamas, like great scenery behind me. I'm on my balcony. So yeah.
All right, we are going to move. Oh, he's also my supervisor, y'all. So y'all pray my strength. Y'all have seen him on the gathering, so that's the way he is every day. And if you see me on the gathering, that's how I have every day. So just pray everybody straight. All right, I'm going to bring up our next guest, LaDon Tate. Say hello to us, ma'am.
Hello, how are you all?
Good.
So my name is LaDon Tate, and I wear a couple of hats, but tonight I'm just gonna wear the hat of I'm the person living with HIV of the community. And when I say of the community, because I do consider myself to be a community leader, not just a person that talks. I really am. I try to make things happen. I am a leader.
Awesome. And actually, we'll get into that discussion in a minute because I was about to ask how long you've been living with HIV. I do want to tell everybody that's watching, everybody that comes on is not infected, but all of us have been affected by the pandemic. It is still a pandemic which is, go ahead. Go ahead. You're about to change it from pandemic to what?
Nothing. That's your show.
Go ahead. This is why we're here.
It's an epidemic.
An epidemic. Why would we call it an epidemic and not We're going to get into that in 1 second. Let's bring in our last guest, Pastor D'Angelo Gardner. Let's say praise the Lord for him.
Yo.
Praise the
Hey,
Lord
what's going on, guys?
What's happening with you, sir?
Is this where I introduce myself?
Yes, sir.
Well, he kind of already did. Well, I'm D'Angelo, and like Miss LaDon, I'm the male who actually carries the virus. I'm born and raised Detroit, Michigan, all my life. I'm blessed and privileged to travel all over the world, and but Detroit is home. Yeah. Is there a way I can get that echo out my ear?
I'm not sure that it looks like you've got two things on. See?
Okay.
Okay, try that. How's that one?
Testing. Cool.
Okay. All right. So this is what I need you guys to do. I need you to start sharing this. Share it to the SimHack page. Share it to wherever. Just start sharing it, and share it to your church's page because this is going to be a great topic and a great conversation. All right. So we're going to jump right into this conversation. So what is the first thing that comes first? Let's go back. So we changed it from pandemic to epidemic. Why did we do that?
Well, because now it is people are not dying as severely as they were when HIV first came to the forefront. And so with all the transitions in medication, science, HIV is actually a manageable, livable disease. It's, so we don't put such a negative emphasis on it as now a pandemic is what we just came through and actually what we're still going through with this COVID stuff, because it seems like every time we think we've boxed COVID in somewhere, now we got the Oraricon or Romicon, whatever his name is, that's flying around. That's it. So it is not a pandemic. It is an epidemic because we understand HIV is going to be around until they find a cure. But we've now been able to get people to a place where they can manage their HIV disease.
Okay, so tell me, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you start thinking about HIV?
Well, for me, so let me say this: I've had the pleasure of working with LaDon for I guess many years now. And so we work in the same field, so we see each other at trainings, in state, out of state, everywhere. So one of the things that that comes to mind when I think of HIV first is the whole stigma thing. There being a person, I am not a person who is living with HIV, right? But I'm a person who works in the HIV field. And sometimes it is hard for me to even say what I do for a living because people then automatically assume that I have HIV. And so that lets me know that there is still a level of stigma that we have to educate people on. Just because I rally behind an issue does not mean that I am, I myself am living with the virus. Kind of like Apostle Ray said, even though all of us on here may not be infected with HIV, but we're all affected because LaDon, for example, Pastor D'Angelo, for example, are people who are part of my community who I have seen and been able to extend a hand and touch, right? And so I rally for people that I know who are living with HIV, who may not necessarily have the ability to put a voice or to their concerns. And so I feel like it is my job. I am obligated to stand up at the plate and be able to put a voice to the concerns of the people who feel like they can't do it themselves or who don't feel like they even have a voice. So stigma is a thing for me.
LaDon, what about you?
I have to agree with him, but also I think of myself because I'm living with it, and my work is not done. Like again, stigma is a part of my work, and like that's the biggest thing, but that's not the biggest thing, right? Like to me, the biggest thing is making people feel comfortable with being able to say, "Hey, I'm HIV positive," again, with all the science and all the medication and the fact that you have undetectable equals untransmittable and you can't transmit the virus as long as you're in care, like why are you in shame? It's so much of stigma, but it's us that's stigmatizing the most because we can't express it.
Mhm. Almost
When you
kind of
say
stigmatizing yourself.
when you say
Go ahead,
us,
Jeff.
what do you mean?
Well,
Like
I say
HIV
because I'm a
community?
part of the community, so
Okay.
you know what I'm saying. I'm just speaking as a community as a whole. Like I'm not saying I'm not gonna never say like individuals or me. I'm part of the community, and we still have work to do. Like if
Facts.
everyone in the community, I know people still gonna live in silence, but they live in silence because of the stigma, you
Because
know, and I guess that's why I try to shine so bright to show them. And then when they look at me, they be like, "Girl, bye, you ain't HIV positive," and I'm like, "Honey, yes, I wouldn't make this up." So you know what I'm saying? When just for a person to look at me and just to be like, "Girl, bye," you know what I'm saying? That they look at me and be like, "Wow, for real." And you just saying it like that, like, yeah, girl, shoot, I'm undetectable. I can do what I need to do. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Why not?
Pastor D'Angelo, what comes to mind when you talk about or think about HIV?
When I think about HIV, it's a lot like Ladon. Now being somebody who has it, uh, I think about me, but I was ignorant before I was affected and infected, rather. But before we go there, I also want to make mention that I actually do believe HIV is a pandemic. Only reason I say that is because epidemics generally are focused on centralized locations, meaning it's not universal, it's not global per se. It's something that breaks out in a certain area, certain community, certain region, if you will. But I believe this is a pandemic because USA is not the only people um, who deal with this illness. It's all over the world. It's global, and that's what makes it a pandemic. And it'll forever be a pandemic until we find, whether in our lifetime or somebody else's, a cure to officially eradicate HIV. And that's just the dictionary perspective that pandemics are more global, epidemics are more local, if you will, and centralized locations. But when I think about the HIV community, man, I used to let's just break the glass open right now. I used to assume that 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of the problem with that was
Wait, we
it,
missed the part.
you missed a part.
Yep, it just broke up. You said a problem, or and then it just stopped.
You
Oh,
said let's break the glass,
I
and
said
then
let's
it
just
went blank.
yeah, let's break the lid open. When I used to think of HIV, I assumed 10 times out of 10 you were homosexual. And in the black church, I think so first of all, as a black people, as a ethnicity, there's already a weight that we have to deal with. But then now we're religious, and so we
Mhm.
have to deal with church people. You deal with judgment from your own community, and then you are dealing with judgment from the church, and that alone just hinders people like myself from ever want to speaking out about it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's just in the church, unfortunately, in 2021, it's still a big deal. And the reason I know it, and we'll go further in conversation later, is because I've lost a couple $100,000 opportunities because the information was disclosed that I was HIV positive, you know? So yeah, I'm just answering the question.
Yeah.
But that was my thinking that 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, you had to be gay. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this because often that has been my experience. I think I think Ladon might be closer in age to me, but growing up, I grew up around some of the older saints, some of the older musicians, and it was pretty clear who everybody was, what was happening. And then when somebody died of cancer, you would hear somebody say, well, they died of the church cancer, um,
Right.
which is still just the line itself, even though it is not funny, Saints. Just the line itself, well, they had that church cancer. It's
Right.
just too much for me to handle. It is just too much. But what we did not understand was prevention. There was no education. There was no anything that was being discussed. And I was born in the 70s, early 80s. So I'm right here, dab smack, right in the middle of the introduction of HIV/AIDS, as they used to call it. And so the education was not there, especially coming from the church. Why do we think that it is still so very taboo in the African American community and in the church?
Okay, so I guess this is where I come in at, right? So look, because again, sex is a taboo topic. You have to have the discussion about sex.
That's
You
good.
have to have the discussion about whether you have needle users. I think I'm saying it right. I'm not trying to be offensive.
That's close. No, you good. That's close enough.
Like you have to admit it and be able to address the fact. And I think that's kind of where my issue come in at. Like
Now listen, because you just said something I think that was very important, and it is the fact that HIV is taboo because sex is taboo. Well, so are the facts as it pertains to sex in HIV, sex and infection. Like you said, you started off talking about sex, and then that taboo hit you, and you went to intravenous drug use. So, can we do like an HIV 101 real quick?
Okay. So wait. No, you're taking me too fast because I have statements. Okay, I have comments that I want to make.
Okay.
So I just don't believe that HIV itself is taboo in the black church. I don't believe sex itself is taboo in the black church. I believe that the black church has not found a way to embrace this gospel that we preach, right? Where it says that the Bible talks about how he wants our soul to, he wants us to prosper and our soul prosper as we be in good health. And so in order for us to do that, we have to have some real conversations. But
Yeah.
in order to have those real conversations, we have to admit that people don't do or live the way that we necessarily live and do our lives. And so
Yeah.
it puts us in some awkward places. I do not believe the church has learned how to reconcile the true gospel of Jesus Christ versus their crappy gospel of Jesus Christ and what they believe holiness is, right? And so until we can get to a place and we can reconcile this Savior who was all powerful, who came down to earth and then was able to meet and talk to people and then convince them to come out of their stuff and go and eat with them, then we will see that the church will be able to have a conversation about HIV, about sex, sexuality, I mean, everything, babies out of wedlock. I was watching that show while we were on lockdown called Bridgerton. I don't know.
Yes, Bridgerton.
So first off,
Loved
the show was okay. But there is one particular episode that stood out to me. When she was talking, she had married old boy, moved into the other house, did what women do, got married, moved off, and was talking to the I guess she was the maid, the head maid, and she didn't know how women got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know it would take for her husband to ejaculate inside of her for her to even attempt to get pregnant. And so when they had a family function and she goes back home and she meets up with her mom, she looks at her mom and she says, "You prepared me to be a wife, told me how to keep a house, but you didn't teach me about sex when it came to my husband and what that looks like." And her mom looked at her and said, "Honey, they didn't teach me either." And so I really believe that's what we have happening in our churches today.
Absolutely.
We are making our kids hold on to their virginity, and then we're coupling them off to people. I will pray that my kids will marry another virgin, but we know that it's probably going to be very slim a none chance, right? So we marry our kids off to people, and we send them into their homes, and we have not had an adult conversation about their bodies and real sex, because Jesus said, "Live holy, and don't no nasty, corrupt conversation come out of my mouth." Yeah, okay. And we need to be able to find a way to make the church really be what the church should be. It should be a place for all people where we can have all types of conversations, but then we line it back up with the scripture and says, but this is what the Bible says, right?
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Pastor D.
Hey, and to a point to what you were saying, I also think generations that precede mine kind of like left it up to us to figure it out how they figured it out. And the thing is like, well, like you said, well, I don't know, I feel like the same thing with them was the same case where eventually you'll find your way through it. But the problem is, once the generations before us got educated, they still never really passed the information down.
Right.
And I think that's where the great falling away is happening.
I agree. I think part of the reason that the church is so taboo about sex is that it creates exposure. Because if we really started having discussions about sex, sexual acts. Now, when I was a youth pastor, I had my kids, I had about 60 kids, and I had them sign off on permission slips. And some parents didn't want their kids learning about sex from the youth pastor. That's fine. But we went through penis, vagina. We used secular words that they understood. We also talked about orgasms. We talked about the clitoris. We talked about anal sex, oral sex. And once it was like 2 or 3 days. And after the kids got back home and they started using these medical terms, their parents were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you taught them this." Well, why not? These are the things that they need to know in order to not do, if that makes any sense. And so being able to do that, but part of the issue though is that when you start teaching children or young people what sex is, how sex is supposed to go, it will cause a stop to the molester, because now I understand this is not supposed to be happening.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so it will expose them. One of the things that we've learned growing on, I know, let me speak for me, that I've learned growing up in the church is don't mess with what's happening behind somebody's door. So if you want to start pulling stuff out of somebody else's closet, then all of your stuff gonna fall out too. And so when we start talking about sexual behavior, then all of that stuff is going to come out. I don't know about y'all, but I've been hit up by men, women, bishops, elders, missionaries, all kinds of folk. And so it kind of doesn't matter because we know the saints are having the sex.
Yeah.
They are having the sex from the
sex.
bishops on down. I'm not going, because administrative assistant is on, I'm not going to go any deeper. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, from the bishops, I'm talking general board on down, we know the saints are having the sex.
Okay. Yeah.
The issue is those people who are under their leadership are being told not to have the sex, and then not being told how, the married couple, how to have the sex. And so then we end up trying to find something to fulfill whatever our sexual desire or the thing that turns us on is. And so now these people are stuck trying to figure out their sexual attractions, how this, and then we're creeping off having stuff, and then boom, infection. And nobody's even talked to us about HIV or gonorrhea or syphilis or herpes or HPV.
Can't even get to that part.
Nothing. Can't get to none of that because holiness
Oh,
is
yeah.
right. All right,
no man can see the Lord.
listen. No discussion on condoms. No nothing. Because we're not supposed to be having. I remember being maybe 12 years old and I asked about condoms at church. And it's like, well, you're not supposed to be having sex anyway, so you don't need to know about those.
That's our culture.
It is, but I had already been molested. So, like, I'm confused. But, amen. So, church people and black people have a habit of attacking something they don't understand. Have you ever had an experience, positive or negative, regarding HIV and people who do not understand? Oh, side note, we pass out condoms at our church. I had two well-known preachers walk into my church and was in my office, and we were standing there talking, and they were talking about their girlfriend or their relationship or something. I said, "Do you need some condoms?" They bust out laughing. I said, "I know you're having the sex. You might not tell nobody else, but get you some so that you don't end up pregnant or with anything else." But, the saints don't want to hear that. But I'm just trying to protect the saints.
I think whatchamacallit was passing out condoms too. Leandra Johnson.
Yeah, but she was handing out cigarettes too. We don't hand out cigarettes.
Oh.
We will hand out condoms.
Aren't honest about.
What she say? Go back. Some leaders say not.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't honest about how to do this, like they tell others to do. Oh, so basically they're being hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, have you ever had to deal with? Have you had an experience with people who were unlearned regarding HIV, positive or negative? Because every experience with somebody uneducated isn't necessarily negative. But have you had specifically black people and/or church people?
Yeah, is that a real question?
Yeah, I was like, really? This is the question?
Yeah. You want to answer that, LaDon?
When it comes to the church, I can't say I've experienced a bad because I haven't. I mean, I'm sure I have members of my church that follows me, but I haven't really had that conversation in front of my church yet.
Now, are we limiting this to just church or just experiences in general?
But just experience in general, of course.
Well, let's let you, Pastor D'Angelo, because your stuff was huge.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and let's talk about that because your stuff was on everything.
Hey, and I'm being really. I'm trying to.
You ain't got to be.
Huh? No, I already know where he at because he like I'm launching soon, and
it's not even that. It's the fact that it's a hot subject, and when you mix hot subjects and no shit, like no boosting myself up, but with hot people who basically have influence. Yeah, it's a, it's a, it could be explosive. You know what I'm saying?
That's okay.
Now the difference between then and now is I'm
Wait. One of them dropped. You said the
Can't see. I
difference.
think the website dropped. Hold on one second.
We're
I'm
listening to
entering
you.
again. Can y'all hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Somehow
Sound-
it
I re-
dropped.
Okay.
I was saying the difference then was, so the difference between then and now, I'm more confident. I've come to grips. I've come to terms with a lot of the realities that I'm faced with. So to answer that question, I've experienced a lot of opposition. A lot of opposition.
Now you already mentioned you've lost $1 million spots.
Well, $100,000 salaries, and so, and that was two of them, would be in and say, we want what you got, you know what I'm saying? And I will come here, and I'm trying to get past this weird echo. Can y'all hear
That
me?
might be that one. Hold on one second. Okay, try it now.
Testing, testing, testing. I still hear it. Um,
Because you know you have. Wait, let me remove this one completely.
okay,
Okay, try that.
test. Hey, what you do?
You were actually logged on twice.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Okay. Um, because I'm sitting here like, man, I can't even articulate what I'm trying to say because I'm catching up with myself in my ear.
Right.
Where did I leave off at though? So I had two six-figure opportunities, man, as a worship pastor in Texas. In
Hmm.
one church, brought me down, brought my wife and my entire family down, and
I remember that.
uh, having got the information that we were HIV positive, they pulled the plug. And by this time, we had been there, like a week or whatever. And this is a church that has about 15,000 people. It's a very well-known church in Texas. And so um, on Saturday, we're rehearsing. And by Saturday night, to get ready for Sunday, I get a call to say, hey, we appreciate you came all the way this way, but you can go home. We actually don't need you to minister tomorrow. And I'm like, so here's, I'm from Detroit. I don't mind, you know what I'm saying, going
Right.
home. But what we gonna do is compensate me for this time. I have a family. Any time I give costs something, and so there's going to be some reciprocation. And so if you don't want me to minister at your church on Sunday, I'm cool with that because by that point, I've been on so many stages. I'm not thirsty nor am I desperate. I just wanted to do the work because I love what I do.
Right.
But you're not gonna, disrespect me and play me like that. You know what I'm saying? And so this church, like, yeah, we found out there's a video of your ex-wife on social media telling everybody you're HIV positive. And I said, that's a fact. You know, I said it's two facts. It is true that there is a video of my ex-wife, and it is true. And I'm HIV positive. And they said, well, yeah, we don't know if we need somebody on our staff right now who brings that kind of attention to the church. Like if other people find out you're HIV positive, then how is that going to make us look? This is a pastor's wife saying this to the individual to say, relate to me. And the first thing I had in my mind, because at that time, I feel like no matter how deliberate I get, I'm Detroit by nature, and something in me just be wanting to give a piece of my mind. And because Southern Texas don't know nothing about our, just our.
Not our culture.
And so I said, because I'm striving to be more like Jesus, and I want to, because churches do petty stuff now. Influential churches will call other influential churches to make sure that you don't have an opportunity. And so I'm looking like, okay, let me be quiet. I want to be wise and use wisdom. Although I want to share a piece of my mind, I've got to make sure that I don't do something that jeopardizes how my family is supported.
Okay,
And
wait.
so I had it.
Since you just said that, I have two questions.
Yeah,
'Cause you said because you didn't want to do anything to jeopardize your family.
yeah.
Why? Why did you admit that you were HIV positive, and did you press charges against your ex-wife?
Ooh,
because it is illegal.
The first, check this out. So the word says, "My people perish for their lack of knowledge," and so I'll answer the second question first. Let me answer the first question. You said, "Why did I admit to it?" And the reason being is because I didn't think that there was anything to lie about. Like I've done a lot of things in life, but being a liar is never one I would ever subscribe to. And either you like me for what I come with, or you don't. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even, no disrespect to my wife, my current wife, who I love dearly, and I'm grateful that she's a part of my life, and even gave me an opportunity to be a part of hers, and she's given me children. But I had the same mindset. Somebody out here is for me, and if I'm not for you, then I have to be okay with knowing that maybe you're not it, and that there is somebody else who is. Now, luckily, she was for me. Now, to answer your question, the B part of what you asked, why did I not press charges on the ex-wife, was because I didn't know I could. I didn't really know I could. And I wasn't the confrontational person to be like, you know what? Because, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, these are my kids, right? You understand what I'm saying? And I'm thinking she's unlearned. She's not really understanding the impact that the kids are going to grow up and realize just how pathetic of a move that was you pulled. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I feel like that's going to eat you alive more than anything that can be handled in court. Because eventually what's going to happen is people are going to mature. And as they mature, they look back over their past actions and realize, dang, why would I do something like that? And that in and of itself is enough to imprison them on their own. I just realized I ain't got to put up certain battles and fights because she's eventually putting herself in that cage. You understand?
Yes,
So,
she is. Put that question back up, Eric. Does anybody want to answer?
Can I answer that? I can answer that.
Okay.
Or LaDon, do you want to answer that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So hey, Iona, I suck at names. Sister Ware. So you said, what is illegal about regarding to Pastor D'Angelo's ex-wife? So let's remove his ex-wife out of the scenario, because I don't want to make it look like that we are targeting a specific person. But every state,
she will use this opportunity to blow it up.
Every state has what we call Hipaa laws. Okay, and now it is it's pronounced like Diana. Okay, thank you.
Like Ayana.
Ayana. Oh, okay. Okay, got you. And so, I'm an old man. So every state has what we call Hipaa laws. So whatever state you live in, I think it is important for you to be able to research what your Hipaa laws are. So for example, I hail from the state of Michigan, like most of us on this panel do. So our Hipaa laws state this. As a matter of fact, we deal with the Hiv Disclosure Hipaa Law. Okay, so there's a Hipaa law saying that people who are doctors or social workers or people who do the work like myself, Ray, and LaDon, that we are able to come across people's information, know that they are HIV positive, and we cannot disclose that to anybody come hell or high water, right? We are bound by that law as care providers. So even if we found out somebody in your family and you came to say, DJ, we'd be like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Can't confirm or deny.
Right. So we have what we as workers have to uphold to. But then there are those people who are living with HIV, and they have what they call the HIV Disclosure Law. Now, our HIV Disclosure Law in Michigan for quite some time was very
no, don't go there yet. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Was very rooted in it was rooted in stigma, right? And so what that law said, that when a person who was HIV positive, that they didn't tell someone they were HIV positive, that they were guilty of a crime. A lot of people who were misinformed would say stuff like they were guilty for attempted murder, right? Yeah. So it was never attempted murder. They will be guilty of a failure to disclose. Right. So, but in 2019, HIV laws changed in the state of Michigan. And now the HIV law states in the state of Michigan that if a person who is HIV positive and is on their medication and is undetectable and is in the care of a certified HIV specialist or your doctor, and I'm not saying doctor, because whatever term you want to use, right? And they are in the care of the doctor and they are taking their medication like they should and they are undetectable. That said person who is living with HIV in the state of Michigan does not have to disclose their status anymore because the science has proven that U equals U works. So being undetectable means that HIV is untransmittable. But before that, and if you were a person who found out that somebody was HIV positive and you disclose their status to somebody else, you can be held guilty in the court of law for disclosing somebody else's HIV status. So I recommend everybody, whatever state that you live in, please go and study your HIV disclosure laws and see what that states, because this is really good information to help fight back the stigma in which the community that we fight so hard for, to move them beyond a place of stigma. It is called the HIV disclosure laws. So feel free. And if you have any more questions, you can always reach out to me. My number is area code 313-963-3434. I don't know my extension. So just call that and ask to speak to Art. So,
LaDon, can you tell us what U equals U is?
Undetectable equals untransmittable, which means as long as you are in care, as he stated, you're taking your meds and you have been undetectable for 6 months plus, you cannot transmit the virus to anyone sexually at all.
At all.
Way.
And I know that because I got 2 beautiful kids as a result of being HIV positive. So
here's something that may be a little controversial, though. There is a lot of people who are saying that U equals U, that's fine, but you need to tell me if we gonna hook up. So how do we deal with the other side of that?
So here's what I think. I am an advocate supporter of the Michigan HIV disclosure laws. So let me state that I agree and I support what the law states. And the reason why I support what the law states is because I have seen the negative effect of what used to happen and how it would affect my clients and how it would affect them from going to the doctor, wanting to complete care, or staying connected to care. So I'm in full support of our HIV disclosure law. Now, as a man, I believe that all adults should have a conversation about sex. I think I think people who play cards, at some point should lay their cards on the table. This is the hand I'm playing with, right? Mm-hmm. Or this is the game I've played before. And, I think that comes along, though, on your comfortability level. One of the things that I teach my clients is this: when do you disclose? When you are comfortable. When you feel like the right time is the right time, that's when you disclose, because I don't have to live your life. I can't walk in your shoes. So me saying, oh no, LaDon, you better say something. I don't know, what LaDon's date gonna do. And then if he go upside her head, now I feel bad because I could have just let LaDon live up to the law, which is she undetectable, so she ain't gotta say nothing. Does that make sense? I hope
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
I understand.
I mean, on the other side of that, I'm going to hook up with somebody right after the musical. We at the convocation, and we're down eating, having fun. Somebody starts flirting with me, and then we gonna run and hook up. So, do we sit down and have the conversation while we hooking up, before we hook up? Or if I am the positive person, do I stop right in the middle and go, okay, just want you to know
But let's be real. Nobody does that when it's not HIV related. You don't stop and say, oh, by the way, I had chlamydia 3 weeks ago. Come on now. When we are in the kitchen cooking, I'm getting it in one way or the other. Like it is what it is. And right. This is why, watch this. This is why I encourage my clients. Undetectable, I go for it. But you can always make sure, if you feel like that's not enough for you, protect your sex partners. You can use condoms. You can use risk reduction. Because I think it's unfair to put responsibility on HIV positive people as if the rest of us have never gone and had unprotected sex with multiple people in the same week. And we did not say, oh, I just ran through 3 people just yesterday. Can I still run up in you? So don't do that to them. Don't put that. Listen, we have a moral obligation as adults to be the gatekeeper of our own bodies. It is not LaDon's job for her to police my body. That's my job. So I got a responsibility all by myself. So if LaDon don't tell me, I know I'm a good puller outer. I know how to pull out and shoot somewhere. Listen, whatever, yo. Like, there we go.
But that's still. It goes back to, it needs to be the education out here, like, because you got to be honest, like you said, they're not going to have that conversation. But if the education is out here, a person can know that, oh, you know what? I just had a one night stand last night. Let me go to this doctor and go get a PAP pill. A PAP pill is like a 24-hour pill to like a birth control to HIV, right? A 24-hour pill to help you not to get it, okay?
I never knew that.
You need that education out here, right? Again, that's the issue. We don't have the education out here.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at I'm gonna kick him off. I'm about to inbox him right now. Put the next one up, Eric. Because you said, I know how to shoot wherever I need to shoot. See, this is why this discussion is necessary. So then if that is the case, this is then what we need to discuss also. I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. What are, well, let me just ask it. What are ways that people can get infected? Because if I am going out and I'm hooking up with this lady, and I hook up with this lady and that lady and that lady, and I have sex with 25 women, does that mean I am susceptible to being infected? If I go out and have sex with 25 men, does that mean I'm susceptible to being infected?
Let's
wait, please. Can I say this?
Go for it.
We are trying to end stigma, correct? Okay. Yeah. That word, infected. Mm-hmm. I'm not infected.
Okay.
I'm diagnosed. I'm a person living with. You feel me? I'm not infective. It's like meaning I'm infectious. I'm not infected.
And that in and of itself is what hurts us too, because
I'm diagnosed. Yeah. I'm a person living with. So we're gonna have to change that language real quick.
Okay. Now I agree with you when it comes to the person who is in treatment and living life with HIV. But the person who is not positive and they're having sex with people, what is our terminology for that?
It's easy for them to contract.
Okay.
Wait. And LaDon, I'm there with you, because that's when we get to the terminology about risk behaviors. What I'm doing that puts me at risk. So to answer your question, Ray, so I think first off, I think we need to set some parameters or set the foundation. Mm-hmm. First off, we have to understand what HIV is and how HIV works. First off, HIV is not a get on you virus, it's a get in you virus. Okay. And meaning that HIV has to get inside of your body and or your pink parts in order for it to have its way inside of your body. So there are fluids that transmit HIV, and the fluids that transmit HIV, and I'm going to name them in which they are most infectious to least infectious. So the first fluid is blood, the second is semen, the third is vaginal secretions, and the fourth one is breast milk. So those are the, now I know some people are like, well, you can't get fluids, HIV from spinal fluids. Y'all don't come in contact with spinal fluids when you're having sex. So don't act like that.
Hey,
I hope not.
If you break somebody's back in like that,
I
I'm
need
almost
that.
a therapist.
Wait. What is vaginal secretions? Secretions that come out the vagina.
So vaginal secretions is how you know you're doing your job with her. When she get excited and she starts to purr and turn on. Yep, there you go. That's
Wait,
yeah.
so you can contract HIV through that?
The only way you can contract HIV through that is if there's another open pink part.
Ray, let me finish, Apostle.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. So those are the 4 fluids that transmit HIV, right? And I just named those from which they are most infectious to least infectious. So then when we have this concept and we understand that blood, semen, lady happy juices, and breast milk, right, are all the fluids that transmit HIV, then we start thinking about the transmission puzzle. How much of that fluid am I coming in contact with? So if I am having sex with 100 people a day, and out of 100 people a day that I'm having sex with, and out of the 100 people, 75 of them are HIV positive, and I come in contact with one of their body fluids that transmit HIV, my risk is greater of being newly diagnosed, of contracting HIV. But then we look at what also is happening with one's body. So when we look at a male's penis, a male who is uncircumcised has a greater risk of contracting HIV while having sex, whether it's with a man and or a woman, because remember we talked about those pink parts. When you pull back the umbrella skin, that's all pink part right there. So if we don't learn how to teach our people what is happening, these fluids that transmit HIV, that puts them at risk, right? So when you understand that, and we talk about our pink parts, what are our pink parts? Your gums, the gums in your mouth, ladies, your vaginal area, your anal area. You want to keep your pink parts healthy. So in other words, have you ever brushed your teeth the wrong way and then, your gums started bleeding? That meant you opened up the pink parts. And then you go right behind that, and then you take some Listerine. You like, because your pink parts are no longer whole, and so it's filling the alcohol that is coming from the Listerine. Now, watch this. Take that same scenario, the pink parts in your mouth are open, and you decide to go down on old girl who is a person living with HIV. She just came off her period the day before, and she doesn't have a lot of blood behind, but there's some blood behind. But you don't mind still going down for all you can eat buffet. So if you think about that risk and that exposure, that's how we then begin to say, it's done by, risk reduction. Knowing one's risk is always important when it comes to HIV infections.
Okay, when we talk about risk reduction,
how did I do?
That was good. When we talk about risk reduction, though, what are we talking about? And because our audience is so vast, we want to make sure that we include all different kinds of communities. Amen. So what are some risk reduction methods that will keep us from becoming, not us, I'm good and married, so.
So when we think about sex, so we know that there is the oven and there is the oven stick. So either way you go, you got to look at.
Can we use real terms?
Say that again.
Can we use real terms?
Okay.
We got a vagina. And we have a penis.
Well, thank you. That's why you helped me out, So when you think about a vagina, a penis, and an anal area. So for example, when it comes to the person who is who is being penetrated. So we're thinking about the vaginal area and the anal area more than likely, because same gender sex versus
Heterosexual sex.
Yeah, I was trying
Vaginal.
to avoid from using that. Yeah, so vaginal sex, right? Because just because you have vaginal sex doesn't really make you heterosexual, but that's another day, another conversation. Right?
Oh no,
And
we're gonna
so
have that next year.
when you start looking at those, the way that you have sex. Say that again.
No, we're gonna have that conversation next
What'd
year.
you say? Oh, okay. So when you start looking at how you're having sex, so let's say the bottom. We're talking about men and men having sex. So the bottom or the woman. If you know that you're having sex and you're not using protection and you're not sure about your sex partner's HIV status, one of the things we tell our clients is then ride them. Because if you ride, you can control, when you get up, and the laws of gravity state what goes up must come down. So even if they shoot in you, if you're riding them, now this does not eliminate a risk. This is just risk reduction. And so when you know what goes up must come down, you ride them, right? Take control of the sex. Take control of the sex, make the sex exciting, make it fun. Say, oh yeah, I want to tie you up and punch you in your face, and then right when you're about to come, I want you to just pull it out and beat me up with it or something. Ways that I'm just saying, ways to take control of the sex to lower one's risk. If it comes to oral sex, one of the things we tell our clients is if you gon' swallow or spit. Swallow or spit. Don't let it sit. All right. If you
wait. How do you do that? How do you said swallow or spit? Don't let
Swallow
it spit.
or spit.
I got you.
Swallow or spit.
Okay, come on now. I need you to be on our page now.
I've been off the market for a long time, so I don't.
Okay.
I got y'all now.
Yeah, swallow or spit. Don't let
Wait. You just said I've been off the market for a long time. That's something else that we're going to have a conversation about. Even in covenant relationships, we have to learn how to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good sex. Okay, go ahead. Swallow or spit.
Swallow or spit. Don't let it sit. Here's why. Because if there is HIV indeed in that fluid, if you are swallowing it, we believe that the acids in your stomach will begin to eat that stuff up. Now, remember, this does not eliminate risk. It's just a risk reduction. So, but if you just sit there and they have a party in your mouth, you sit there going, oh yeah, this was so awesome. The longer you let it sit, the more it's finding ways to get into, once again, those pink parts. So we want to try to avoid it from getting in those pink parts. So swallow or spit, don't let it sit. Another thing that we teach our clients is that everything ain't about penetration. You can have some great foreplay and outer course, meaning that you can find ways to where bodily fluids are not exchanged. But as I was told growing up, you can have Roman hands and Russian fingers, and there's ways that you can make some stuff good, And so when we teach people these things to give them a buffet of options when it comes to sex. And then lastly, and then I'm done. And LaDonna, if I missed anything, please jump in and help a brother out. But the last thing is there is a condom that was created. It's called the Female Condom. So here's some history for you guys. The female condom was not really created for the female. It was really created for anal sex for gay men. But because of your government and their shay poo mindset, they don't like sodomy. So they could not market this as an anal condom. So they had to market it as a female condom because nobody likes sodomy. But yet y'all rape, plumb, and steal girls from their villages and their families and whatever.
They did.
However, so they have this thing called a female condom, and it is polyurethane. It's almost like a plastic bag, and it's about this big, and it looks like a bag, and it has a squeezable ring. Now, both men and women can use this. Could I explain Roman hands and Russian fingers? Okay, and so it has a bendable ring, and so what will happen is, this condom, this woman can put the condom on. They can put the condom on by putting the condom inside of them, and she can wear it up for like 3 hours before having sex. And the same thing with the men. The men can take the squeezy ring, put it right up in their anal area, and you will see the bag begin to stick to the walls. So whether it's the anal area or the vaginal area, the bags will stick to the walls, right? And it has a closed end on it. So when you ejaculate, you're ejaculating into the bag. When you're done, you grab the ring, squeeze the ring, pull the bag, pull it out, and now you got some mayonnaise for your sandwich for tomorrow.
Nope. Carmen says she didn't know half of this stuff. A lot of people watching don't know half of this stuff. One of the things about the female condom is that it really does take the shape of your walls. And so for a lot of our clients, we've had to discuss with them that this is one of the best ways or one of the better ways if they are participating in professional sex work, because nobody ever has to know that they have on a condom, because you slip it in, you make sure there's some lubricant in there, and then you go for it. He never knows the difference because you can't feel the difference because the bag takes on that size and all of that stuff.
Now he may not know the difference, but the sound may get on his nerve because it'll sound like a bag. But like I tell my clients, if you worried about the sound, then son, you're in the wrong job. You need to be just go ahead and try to finish this thing out and take one for the team, right? So these are things that we can teach our people. Let's be clear. Now this is Pastor Dart talking. I love the Lord with my whole heart. I am saved, I am sanctified, and I am filled with the precious gift of the Holy Spirit. But everybody does not believe the way that I believe.
Right.
I cannot force my standard of living on everybody else. So if I want my Black brothers and sisters to survive, guess what? I'm going to give them all the tools that they need in order to conquer whatever's out in the world. So if that means,
and sex is natural.
Close your door. Now, wait a minute. Now you don't get your feelings hurt. Close your door.
As he's dealing with that, I think that it is imperative, like what you said, LaDon. Sex is natural, and there are people who are exposed to all different kinds of sex. If we want to believe that the only people who are having vaginal sex or anal sex are married people and or gay people, that's not true. People in relationships, married people, the issue is that because we don't understand or know how to do it, we set ourselves up for risks. And let's for a second forget about the other infectious diseases. You can have tears in your anal cavity. You can have fissures and all of this stuff if you don't lube up right. So all of these things are things that we talked about, which opens you up to becoming more infected, not infectious. Shoot, what's our language?
More at risk to contract.
Diagnosed.
At risk to contract or be newly diagnosed with HIV. I think, and listen, y'all, we're not going to always get this right. Clearly, we do this and we don't get it right. I remember we were at a group, and they started talking about cis men and women, straight, gay, bisexual, trans, pansexual. And at some point, I got up and walked outside. I said, I can't understand all of this. It's just too much at one time. But the more effort we put into trying to learn, the more it will be, the easier it'll be to be able to communicate. When you don't know something, it's a lot easier to ask than just to assume that this is what it is. And I think that's kind of what the church has done. We just assumed this is what it is. And so anybody who has this is like that. But when we experience that from a race perspective, we ready to fight. So it's just not okay for us to try and put people into that same box. What are some myths that you believe are in existence because of the lack of education? I'll start with one of my favorites. I've heard people say this. I actually had a client that said that her family had to have a paper plate or a plastic plate, plasticware, and plastic cups. Nobody was sitting in the chair after her unless she sprayed it down because
Yep.
they thought that they would become infected.
Yep. I like to speak to that.
Go for it.
I when I first
Or more at
was
risk.
diagnosed, when I was first diagnosed 4 years ago, I I I was ignorant. You know, it was something that crept up on me. I was ignorant, and so I didn't get a chance to really learn a lot. I had to do on-the-job training, if you will, meaning I learned a lot as I progressed and experienced like what happened to my body internally, and then stuff that I'll read on it. I learned to stay away from Google to a certain degree because Google, let me tell you, Google actually put me in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
And even as of recently, we'll get to some new discoveries I just found out internally that I'm concerned about. But Googling symptoms and things that you deal with is like the worst thing to do. You got to really just go and see a doctor. However, when I first got sick and came around certain people, uh, I definitely had to eat out of plasticware. I had to eat out of things that they can throw away. Um, I didn't sing for almost like a year, but when I did get back on the road and got back into ministry, I had people, spraying mics down or pretty much wishing they could throw them out. You understand what I'm saying? Because they didn't really know that you actually are more dangerous to me than I am to you. Because our immune systems are easily compromised now. We've digressed to having immune systems like babies again. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that anything like I got so severely ill that I could get sick just from touching stuff.
So were you on
And
medication then?
yeah, yeah. But by the time I discovered I was sick, it was AIDS, and so it
So you
was
didn't
like
have the CD4. Your CD4
no,
count was
I had less than 50 white blood cells, and I was gone. It was like weird. I didn't even know until it got. The moment you get symptoms outwardly, it has already done a lot of damage inwardly. You understand what I'm saying? And so, fast forward. Anyway, I went around people just couldn't eat out of regular dishes and plates and stuff, and it offended me, and I felt really, really bad about it to the point I had to start educating people. Like, yo, it's not like I can touch you, you're going to get something. It's a blood issue. Let's narrow it on down to what it really is. It's a it's an infection. Basically, we're the woman with the issue of blood, unclean blood. You understand what I'm saying? And once I start showing them proof of what happens when you get HIV, it's like they start slowly but surely saying, "Okay, okay, I see." And here's the hurtful part: most of it was family.
I'm
And
sure.
so, I had to process through a lot of that, man. And, people who don't know how you got HIV or where it even came from and how it's caused, saying derogatory statements, calling you faggots or, just random, whatever they felt like in the moment would suffice or quench their thirst in that moment to satisfy them with how they wanted to come out. I mean, I dealt with a lot of that. So, LaDon, I don't know how it was for you, but and even still, every now and then, you have some people who are just uneducated that will just do something that they don't think is offensive, but is highly just like, dang, really? You understand?
The Saints are asking some really good questions.
So
let
I went
let
through that far as I was unable to kiss my nieces and nephews at one point.
Mm.
And I love kids. Like I am the auntie, I'm the favorite, everything. And that hurted when I couldn't even kiss my own nieces and nephews because my family was uneducated.
Let's
Mm.
go back. Let's answer some of these questions. What's the difference between HIV and AIDS?
HIV is a virus, and AIDS is a doctor's diagnosis. So let's throw out your vocabulary that phrase "full blown AIDS." There is no such thing as full blown
Okay.
AIDS. Now, what can cause an AIDS diagnosis? According to the CDC, which is the mega hospital and scientists and doctors for the United States of America, according to the CDC, A person living with HIV, if their CD4 or CD4 count, which are their white blood cells, the defender cells, if it drops to 200 or below, they can be defined as an AIDS case in the United States of America. But also, a person living with HIV, they can have an opportunistic infection. Now, what is an opportunistic infection? It is an infection that takes the opportunity to infect you. And normally it's stuff like thrush. It's just like thrush, PCP pneumonia, and cancers. So yeah. And so so a person who's living with HIV, if they get any of those, the doctor can very well diagnose that client with as an AIDS diagnosis in the United States of America. But watch
And
this.
they don't have to have a whole bunch of stuff happening either.
Right. But watch this.
Numbers.
If a person who was diagnosed with AIDS were to infect somebody, they infect them with HIV and not AIDS, because AIDS is a diagnosis and HIV is a virus. Now, the terminologies are even changing, because now we're starting to say stuff like advanced HIV disease, because HIV is becoming more manageable. Right now, we are not too concerned about people dying from HIV, but they're dying from aging with HIV. So now they have, diabetes. It's not the HIV it's the diabetes. It's all of this other stuff happening in their body. If you have the virus that turn into AIDS, AIDS is a diagnosis. The virus is always going to be the virus. AIDS is the diagnosis. And what that means, once again, is your CD4 count has dropped to 200 and or below, or you have an opportunistic infection. And that's why they would diagnose somebody as an AIDS case in the United States of America.
So let me see if this is as equivalent as we can make it. The average body temperature is what, 98.6?
Okay.
Something like that. I think that's it. And so typically you are diagnosed with a fever at like 99, right?
Yeah.
100. Okay. So let's say 100. So just because I have a fever does not mean that I have the flu. It does not mean that I have pneumonia. It does not mean I have this. What it says is that there's an infection somewhere in my system. That's it.
And the body is fighting it.
And the body is fighting it. That's it.
And so I think this is a good segue if we can actually take a moment to see how HIV works in the body. Is that okay or no?
Yeah.
You say yes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So understand this. HIV needs your white blood cells in order to reproduce itself. And so what happens is, once HIV gets into your body, it gets into those CD4 cells, and it begins to make those CD4 cells into a factory that reproduces more of the virus. And why this is important is because as it makes the CD4 cell into its own factory, it's actually killing the memory cell of the CD4 cell, because your CD4 cells are your body's military defenses, which remembers everything you've ever come in contact with. So when you have no CD4 cells, you have no ability for your body to remember, like, oh, we've seen the chicken pox, we've seen the common cold, we've seen this, right? So it reproduces once it gets into the white blood cells, and it makes more copies of itself. And so as it keeps doing this, if there is nothing in place to keep the HIV from replicating itself, it's going to continue to happen. Now, the question is, what prevents HIV from replicating itself? It's what we call HIV medication, or the real terminology is ART, is antiretroviral treatment. So people who are living with HIV who are on medication, they are on ART, antiretroviral treatment. They are on HIV medications. And what happens is, people are taking their HIV medications. The medications stop HIV in one of its cycles. So it will either prevent HIV from getting into a white blood cell, or it will prevent HIV from coming out the white blood cell.
Right.
And when
it puts the virus at a halt.
Because but the virus is at a halt. And this is how people become undetectable. Now, it's when you start your medications and then you take them for a while, and then you stop taking them, now we have what we call a resistance. And so now your HIV has learned how to work around your medication. And then when you start trying to take those medications again, the medication won't work because now your HIV has learned how to work beyond your medication. So this is why I tell my clients, if you're not ready to take medication, tell your doctor. Don't just go out there and take them, because it's going to hurt you in the long run if you're not prepared to take medication every day.
Now, here is a question that they asked about Magic Johnson. What was it? Which one does Magic Johnson have? HIV or AIDS?
Magic Johnson has an AIDS. No, that's not true.
Wait, what did you say?
He doesn't have either.
I said I don't believe he has either.
Oh yeah,
he take medicine just like me.
And that's what I was trying to get to, because we right now have, I know personally, some people who are testifying and preaching from the hills that they have been healed and that HIV has been eradicated from their bloodstream. Do I believe God can? Yes. Do I believe God will? Yes. I have seen him do it for others. At the same time, I think what they're actually saying is that they are undetectable, and so they can't infect anybody. I don't know another way to say that.
So some people that are actually like elite controllers. So
elite controllers, yeah.
Also, okay, you have some people that are elite controllers, meaning that their body naturally fights the virus off on its own. They don't need medication to do that.
Truth.
And
where do you get that body from?
We've known clients that have done that and were not on medication for years, and their viral load did not increase, their CD4 did not increase, and they were on studies and all kinds of stuff. So
it's what we call a slow progressor.
Slow progressor.
Yes.
I just Googled the other day. I don't know why I did this to myself, but I said, how long, what is my life expectancy? And Google told me 8 to 10 years. I like to pass out.
Yeah, Google.
Hey, 9 years.
You have a better chance of dying in a car accident than you do of dying from an HIV infection at this point.
Can we talk about medications?
Especially if you're doing what you need to do. Understand this. It is important for our clients to have what we call a complete circle of care. Mm-hmm. Being able to talk to a complete circle of care. Being able to take their medication, go talk to the doctor, doing the labs, making sure everything is okay and all right with your body. You do those things. It won't be HIV that takes you out. And can I tell y'all the truth? And even when people die because of HIV, they never die because of HIV. They die because of complications, meaning that it caused some other stuff to start happening in the body because you didn't really take care of yourself when you had the opportunity to do so. Mm-hmm. So back to my friend Magic Johnson. I've sat in a room with him. And let me say this. I've been in 2 different environments with him. I've been in a work environment with him, and I've heard him say out of his own mouth, I indeed have HIV. I've been in the church environment with him because he is a member of the Church of God in Christ.
He is.
I've indeed heard him say, I am living with HIV. But when you look at who he was and the time frame in which he was diagnosed, he was a rich man who if the doctor told him, oh, you got to change the way you eat, it was easy for him to go home and tell the cooks, you know what, no more fatty foods. We gonna change my diet immediately. It was easy for them to do that. If the doctor told him that day, oh, you need to start working out some more, it was easy for him to go and get up and run in the gym at his house, because we were looking at a man who was a man of money and a statue versus the mother who lives, on Mac and Bewick, who has 4 kids and her job ain't even paying her a livable wage. And the doctor's saying, oh, you got to eat healthy. And the cheapest thing we can get is just hamburger. And, because everything else trying to eat healthy is more expensive. We don't have the
Right.
luxury of changing such a lifestyle so quickly. But I can tell you, Magic Johnson is on the same medication that any normal person, any
Average person.
average citizen,
Mhm.
it will take. He
This
will
language, y'all.
he will take Biktarvy, he will take Triumec, he will take Simtuza, he will take all of the, just like everybody else. So,
And he's probably on the new injection.
well, we can't speculate what he's taking yet. So, but yes,
that's how far our medicine have came, right?
That you
From
can
like
get
now we have a once a month shot that we can take. No more pills.
Mhm.
Wait. It hasn't been made available yet?
It
Oh,
is
yeah.
absolutely available.
Definitely
They've already done the studies. There are people being prescribed it already.
So pretty much you take this medication for 30 days. You have to take a different type of medication in a pill form, the shot medication in the pill form for 30 days. Then you have to go in and get 2 shots, one in each cheek, once a month.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
You have the good thing with this one is that you have a 7-day grace period. You have a 7-day before and a 7-day after to make sure you go and get that shot. And to my understanding, there actually is a trial right now to where they have this shot to be once every 6 months.
Yep.
That is awesome.
So, Pastor D'Angelo, you don't have to tell me what medication you're taking, but what you can do is go talk to your doctor, ask about. So let me back up. There have been such great strides in the medications for HIV, to where there was a point in time that people had to take 5, 6, 7 pills a day.
Up to 13.
Now we have medications, what we call complete regimens or multi-classes, meaning that it is 2 different classes, 3 different pills, all in one pill, and this person can take 1 pill a day. Mm-hmm. Now, this is wonderful, but this becomes an issue when a person does not take their medication like they should. Because if you become resistant to a multi-class pill, that means anything that's in that pill, you are now resistant to. So as they begin to create new medications and more advancements, you don't want to knock yourself out from moving forward with new medications. So that's for those who are watching, right? So, Pastor D'Angelo, so what you should do is talk to your HIV doctor. Say, hey, I heard about this 1 shot a month. Am I eligible for it? And he might say yes, or he or she, I don't know if your doctor's the male or female, might say yes. But then you also have to call your insurance company. But because it's a new medication, you have to have the authorization done, because they're going to deny it out the gate. But or you can call
call one of us who are case managers who would be able to refer you to a place where, and this goes for everybody that's watching. If you know somebody who have been diagnosed newly or have been living with HIV and they're in care, they're out of care, they're finding issues with figuring out life, medications and stuff like that. Biktarvy, one of my favorite medications. All of my clients have been moved from whatever medication they were on to Biktarvy because I have not seen any side effects at all. Not one side effect from it. And it helps them maintain their undetectable status, or to get to undetectable rather quickly. Like I've seen people go from thousands in their viral load to 0 within like 3 weeks.
You talking about Biktarvy?
Yep, with Biktarvy.
Yeah, that's what I'm on. Before that, though, when I first got sick, it was with Stribuild, and y'all, it was the worst situation. I gained so much weight. Like I lost weight. I lost weight because of the sickness first. I got down to like 140 something pounds, and then I got on Stribuild and got up to 200. I'm 250 something pounds now, and I never was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? But
how long have you been on Biktarvy?
I've been on Biktarvy for a year now. So my thing is, I'm good, but it's like that Stribuild was. And not only did it make you gain the weight, it made me nauseous. So I was throwing up all the time, And so I felt like, now I did go through a season where I didn't take the medication because I felt healthier without it. It was so weird. Like
Right.
and I had to tell my doctor, like, look, you got to find me something else because this is crazy, you know.
Mhm.
And I went from that to it was something else.
Jimboya.
Who?
Was it
Genvoya.
Triumac
I
or
went from Stribio to Genvoya, and
the
then
Jimvoya?
to Big Tarby.
Those are
Yeah.
See,
large pills.
that's my same pattern. When I was on Stribelt, I went through the wasting syndrome. So I lost weight so
Oh
rapid.
wow.
I went from being 165 down to 110.
Hmm.
Somebody
Real
asked about
quick.
Julica. Julica is, from what I've understood,
Jaluka.
that is a great
Jaluka.
medication. Jaluca,
Jaluka.
thank you. It's
Yeah.
a great medication. Listen, I want to continue this conversation, but we are running out of time.
Oh
The
man.
Saints are asking great questions, and I'm loving it. Maybe we'll come back and answer some more of your questions. If anybody is here that, like we were saying, are having have been diagnosed with HIV and they're having issues trying to figure out prescriptions, their insurance, anything like that, specifically in the Detroit area, give us a call. You can inbox either one of us. I'm sure we'll be able to refer you. You can go right to the CHAG Detroit, CHAG Detroit.org, get some information. All of us are on social media. Reach out if you need to, if you want to ask questions. If you have been newly diagnosed, you need education. Listen, we're here for you. The last question would have been, what should the church's response be? And I think we've already answered that. This right here. This is what the church's response should be. Education, support. Go ahead. Go ahead,
But
Pastor.
more applicable, I do believe. I don't think you should be a church in the 21st century without a counseling community, like somewhere where people can go for social work, go for counseling, to go for just having a community of people that they can talk to about these type of things. Because really, if you have somebody who can cater to this, it will get rid of a lot of ideologies or negative perspectives people have about ministry,
I
because
agree.
now you're an advocate. You understand what I'm saying? And you're standing in the gap to help facilitate healing, emotional healing, the traumatic. We've not even been able to get into the traumatic. There's so
We,
much other stuff,
you know
but
what?
yeah,
I
We got
picked his
3 minutes.
warriors. He picked his great warriors to do his work, and that's
yeah.
what I feel like I am.
This
I am
is
one of his
that
warriors.
is something that actually let's go ahead and jump to that. Superintendent had to go because y'all already know he's in the Bahamas, so he had to pay for his internet stuff. But let me end with, well, we're not going to end yet. We were going to, but I forgot about that. Pastor Randall Eckelberg, I grew up with him. He's in Atlanta right now, and he said he wants to be a connection and a resource in Atlanta that are looking for resources. Can you
Oh,
please give us your email address or your contact information so that we can post it so that they'll be able to do that? But let's talk about the trauma. The trauma of do you know, I had a client who was two of them. One was newly infected, the other one had
newly
already
diagnosed.
newly diagnosed, thank you, who had been newly diagnosed, and the other one had already been living with HIV, was in the church, did not know that I was working in the HIV field, the one who had already been living with HIV. When I walked in, and this is, listen to this is the trauma and the stigma that goes with HIV, because the minute I walked in, I wanted to make sure my badge was turned so he could see that, hey, I'm not here because I've been diagnosed with HIV. I'm here because I'm working. Like, I wanted to make sure he knew that. In addition, he almost ran out of there. He almost took off because he didn't want anybody to know about uh, his diagnosis. The other person, he was in church and he was in the clubs. He was all involved in so many different areas. He didn't want anybody to know he got infected or that he was newly diagnosed. I'm gonna get that thing. So what we had to do, we had to deal with the clinic. He had to come up the back stairs and be snuck in to see the doctor because he didn't want any. There's so much stigma and trauma, uh, let alone when people found out about it at church. Oh my God, done. Tell us about some of the trauma you've had to experience specifically from the church, when they found out about your diagnosis?
What do we have? 30 seconds.
Technically, but let's go ahead.
Honestly, not even just the trauma I incurred just from churches, just the war within yourself. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? The you become severely insecure. Do you understand? Whereas I used to reflect on what I looked like 4 years ago, and I'm just like, dang, you know, if I'm honest, I used to be like, golly, that was a fine dude. You understand? And then, but then the same thought, I'll have another thought like that's what got you in the position you're in.
Right.
So I kind of can laugh about it now, but it's like, man, when I first got the diagnosis, I never reasoned with people who wanted to commit suicide until I got in a position to want to do so too.
Mm.
I never understood how one could want to take themselves out of this world, man, and how could life be so traumatizing that you just want to escape the pain of existing. And so when I got diagnosed with HIV, everything was optional. Everything was on the table. You know what I'm saying? And so, and most of it is because of the mental battle. The Bible says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You create the world you live in by what you release out of your mouth. You understand what I'm saying? And my whole thing was I was consuming so much negativity to the point where it started taking root. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the job of the subconscious mind to pull into the natural what we trick it to believe. And the reality you live in is a result of what you
How you think?
believe or perceive and how you think. And so, me saying, man, I'd just be better off without being here. I didn't want to bring shame to my parents' name who were pastors in the city. I knew that in that time I would never find somebody to love me with HIV. I knew I would never have any more kids because the ex-wife I had at the time didn't let me see them anyway. So I'm like, man, I got to make a new family. Now my hopes of doing that is over. You know what I'm saying? And I had so many things in me, one-on-one with me, that I had to process through. And then we taught the people before you are ready to even disclose this situation that would try to dangle things over your head. So now let's leave us and let's get to the manipulation that we have to walk in when it comes to people who feel like they got something on you because of what you shared to them in private. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you become a slave subconsciously to these individuals. And then what happens when one day you come to yourself and realize, man, I'm not what they try to say I am. My past don't define me. I have hope for a future. I could possibly have a new family and have a better life. I can possibly live with this, and I can possibly even become healed of this. And it's like Stella got a groove back. I got my groove back, and when I got my groove back,
Yes.
people who had the remote control realized that it wasn't working.
Uh-huh.
What's It's broke because they lost their ability to control. Because I had to wake up within myself and look in the mirror like, yo, you got to stop beating yourself
Hey,
down. And
thank you.
what
Yes.
God told me was, I didn't cause this to happen to you. Your actions got you here. Part of uh, part of progressing in life is being real with yourself. So the Lord literally told me, your actions got you here, but I won't let this be the death of you. I'll cause it to be a thorn in your flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I needed personally was to be humble. I needed humility. I got sick during a time where I was like a plane taking off. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I was hurting, right? Because my ex-wife was cheating all over the place and just dogging me. So I'm like, man. So when you're hurt and you're emotionally disconnected, your intimacy is shot. It makes you. Let's get to the spiritual aspect of this. It opens you up to perversion on every level. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? And
Right, because you're trying to get fulfilled.
what
Yeah.
people don't understand is that the spirit of lust has no respecter of person or no respecter of activity. And
Right.
so where it is where I only desired women, the spirit of lust gave me entanglement situations with people of the same sex that I knew I shouldn't have been involved in. Now let's deal with the fact that you have this disease and you can't pinpoint who it came from, because when you played, you played. And
They are.
you understand what I'm saying? And so my thing was, there were so many things traumatic. There were layers to my trauma that I had to uncover. I had to live in 2021 with the realization that I may never know who did it. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Somebody knew, but I'll never know, and I never may get the satisfaction of knowing. But I had to make peace within myself that, okay, cool. But what I want to acknowledge is, I believe that sometimes God exposes you to things before He drops you in it. And what I mean by that is, could it be that because I believe that you have authority over what you can conquer. And
Uh-huh.
so my thing is, sometimes God allows us to go through things to conquer that demon, that devil, that spirit, that adversity, so that you can see it in other people, recognize it in other people, and snatch them out of those situations too.
Absolutely.
And that's
You
my
go through
gift.
to be a light. You go through to
Absolutely.
be a light, because there are other people who need the breakthrough that you yourself have experienced and or walked into. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
I feel like now I'm some kind of avenger, that God will give me insight to people who are dealing with the same situation. Maybe they have influence, maybe they have a position in church, maybe they have a position in business. They don't know who to talk to, don't know how to. Oh God, I got scared because I thought He was behind me, and that's you.
Oh, see, I'm
Um,
a human inspirational person. That's what I am.
okay, okay. No, I thought it was
It's
somebody
just
walking
me.
up behind me. I'm sorry. But y'all get what I'm saying though. Go ahead, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
Now, I wanted to say that I think that it is, I think Pastor Randall said it, the audacity to hope. The
Mm,
audacity to hope. People, what we have experienced is that people who are newly diagnosed, the hope goes completely out the window for life, for family, for love, for God, for anything. Everything is gone until there is that little glimmer. Maybe it's education, maybe it's somebody to love them, maybe it's that counselor at the clinic who says, "Hey, you know what? I've been living with HIV for the last 15 years. Listen,
yep.
this will not take you out." And so you start climbing back out of that. I agree. I think that being able to have those supportive systems, not just the clinic, but it is a sad thing that there are so many ministries and churches and even ministers who suffer in areas of depression or trauma and don't have a
Mm,
place to go inside of what they believe. The Bible says that He is, we always say wonderful counselor, but the Bible says He is wonderful and He is a counselor.
mm-hmm,
So why can't He anoint us to be counselors? Guess what?
mm-hmm,
I am
Yeah.
a therapist. Oh my God. And I believe in inner healing, and I believe in deliverance, and I believe
mm-hmm.
in the word. I believe in all of it.
Yeah.
Healing, I believe in all of it. But I also believe in dealing with the psyche of the individual to help transform how you think about you and about your situation, so that hope can not only be found in scripture, but hope can be found in you, because you have that treasure in that earthen vessel in there. So sometimes you got to dig past some of that trauma and pull some of that stuff out. Listen,
Mm,
I appreciate everybody who showed up today, all of our viewers. We definitely need to have this conversation again. Um,
yeah.
the year continues. Next week and the week after, we're going to be doing some more prophetic stuff, and we're going to be prophesying to people regarding this coming year and a couple of years out. But come January and February, we're going to be handling some real topics. We're going to be handling sexuality. We talked about it last year, and the Saints had a whole fit about it. But we're going to be talking about sexuality. We're going to talk about gender. We're going to talk about covenant sex, how to have sex. I'm going to have like toys and diagrams and everything. We are going to have these conversations because they are necessary, especially coming from the body of Christ and from people who know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
All right. But thank you guys so much. We're going to send you backstage. I'm going to close out and then I'm going to come back. Listen, every single person that's watching right now, I want you to share this, tag somebody, send it to somebody in Messenger. Listen, if we could title this as something, I don't even want to talk about HIV in the church. I want to title it exactly what Pastor Randall said, the audacity to hope. Pastor D'Angelo, he's here in the city of Detroit. His church launch is going to be at the beginning of this quarter of 2022. When he announces it, I want us to come out in droves to let him know how much we support him. Period. This has nothing to do with HIV. This has everything to testify of the support that we have for our fellow brother. So I want you guys to come out. If you want or need, if you are in another state, specifically Atlanta, we want to make sure that you have a resource out there to get answers, to get questions, or to get answers for your questions. I'm trying to find the email address. There we go. So that you can make sure you get whatever information that you need. Pastor Randy, RANDEE @gmail.com. He is on social media, on Twitter, or I don't know if you want to go to his Twitter. No, his Twitter's fine. I'm joking, y'all. He's on Twitter. He's on Facebook. But this is his email address. Go ahead and reach out to him. If you have questions, you can always, I love you. That's my brother. But you can always reach out to me, inbox me. Again, if you are looking for ministry for deliverance and inner healing, it is our repeat. If you've ever been through before, our repeat is going to be next weekend. Okay, next weekend, the 12th or the 17th and the 18th, and you have to let us know. There's a number right there, 313-234-3328. Just text Deliverance and we'll get your information from you so that we can make sure we sign you up for repeat. If you have never been through, we're going to be doing it every quarter next year. So we'll do it in January, and then we'll do it April, and so on and so forth. There was one final thing I wanted to tell you, and I can't remember what it was. We talked about deliverance. We talked about inner healing. We talked about resources. Again, shoot us an email. I'm serious. If you just have random questions, need assistance talking to your children, if you want to train your church, we have resources for trainers to come out and educate them. If you just want education, we can do that. Facebook and Instagram and email are best for Pastor Randall, not Twitter. I think that's all. Listen, I appreciate you. I thank you for always keeping the gathering going. You guys encourage me so much. Next week, we're going to be strictly prophetic, and we're going to be declaring the word of the Lord over you. I'm not sure who we have next week, but I think we have Prophet Joseph Foster, maybe Prophet Angelo Hickson. So we've got all kinds of people, maybe Prophet Genesis. So we'll have all kinds of people here. I love each and every one of you. Again, if you need prayer, please don't hesitate to shoot us an email, inbox us so that we can go ahead and pray for you. As always and every week, no tricks, no gimmicks. It's just about his glory. God bless you. I will see you back next week.